What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here, and today we are going to be showcasing a guide for how to prepare for the upcoming Forsaken expansion in Destiny 2. How to be at a position where your characters can hit the ground running as soon as this DLC arrives, and then you can have massive bragging rights over all of your friends, because isn't that the goal in all of this? So, we are going to break this guide down into two main categories. The first category is things you absolutely want to do. These are things that will definitely give you an advantage when Forsaken drops. But then the second category is going to be things that you probably want to do, and these are things that are not confirmed necessarily to give you an advantage, but things may happen where they do give you a massive advantage, and you may want to hedge your bets into these things. So, let's get started here with the things you absolutely want to do, but just before we do, guys, if you're looking for some amazing gaming headphones, including the ones I personally use and recommend to everyone, the A40s, I've partnered with ASTRO. Click the link in the description down below, save some money, and help me out. Definition of a win-win right there. Alright, now let's start here with, I think, the most obvious thing, but it's definitely important and it's worth mentioning. Get your light to as high as it can possibly be. Get your power level to as high as it can possibly be before Forsaken drops, because the power level in Forsaken is going all the way up to 600, which is absolutely insane. So if you're going into Forsaken with 350 light versus if you're going into Forsaken with 400 light, well, it basically means that you have to loot the game a lot less if you have higher light. And here's what I mean by that. It still seems like Forsaken will have the soft cap, hard cap in terms of the power levels. So, all the loot you're getting, blues from public events, all that stuff, will gain you light up to a certain point. And we don't know exactly what that point is. Probably something like 500, 550 light. And then you're going to have to go out and acquire powerful engrams to gain the rest of the light you need to get to 600. So, if you're at 400, it means that you just won't have to play the game as much to reach that soft cap, and then you can focus your time on getting those powerful engrams to eventually reach the absolute maximum cap of 600. If, again, you're going in with 350, well, you're going to have to get a bunch of loot just to level up to 400, and then you're going to have to get even more loot to eventually get to that hypothetical soft cap of, 550. And then you're going to have to spend your time getting powerful engrams. You're just going to be playing the game more, wasting essentially more time in order just to reach that soft cap that the person with a higher light reached a long time ago. Now, if you are struggling in the light department, the good news is that if you level up a set of the Solstice of Heroes armor, it automatically goes to 400. So if you're sitting at 350, if you're sitting at 340, and you're feeling left out, level up an armor set. The objectives to do it are not that outrageous. You don't have to do a raid or anything. The worst you have to do is a nightfall, and because of the challenge system, you can set the nightfall to have ridiculously easy modifiers, like purely beneficial modifiers, and get that done pretty darn quickly. And once you get the armor, you're going to go from 340 to 400 armor right away. It's a huge, huge jump, and it's definitely worth it to get ready for Forsaken. Alright, now moving on from there, something else you absolutely want to be doing is stocking up on and saving useful materials. So, something like gunsmith weapon parts. That's confirmed to still be a thing when Forsaken drops. However, in Forsaken, it's actually going to cost 100 weapon parts to level up the gunsmith and gain some rewards, rather than 40, which it does right now. And I think that's because Bungie knows everyone's hoarding them. But that also means that if you're not hoarding them, you're going to want to, play some strikes, play some public events, all that stuff, and just get that blue loot that's just thrown at you and start dismantling it. And, just play the game naturally and you will get weapon parts. But it also means that for stuff like weapon parts and other stuff we're going to talk about, don't spend them. Do not be spending weapon parts before Forsaken arrives. There's really nothing you need at the gunsmith. In fact, the gunsmith's mod system is going to completely change when Forsaken hits. All the mods you have right now are going to not really matter in Forsaken. You won't be able to use them. We're going to get a whole different set of mods. So, as I said, gunsmith materials, stock up on them if you can, and do not spend them before Forsaken. Other materials that this applies to, definitely masterwork cores. These are going to be very valuable when Forsaken hits, so do not be masterworking weapons and armor at this point, because you're probably going to get much better stuff when Forsaken hits, and you want to save those for sure. Another material that you want to be stocking up on, legendary shards. That's still probably going to play a pretty big role when Forsaken drops, so don't be spending those legendary shards willy-nilly. Now, you may be wondering, what about tokens? Well, that's actually a more complicated question than it may seem, because a lot of the tokens are actually retiring with Forsaken. For example, the planetary tokens. So if you have, IO tokens, those really will not be rewarded at all once Forsaken drops, and it's switching to a different type of material to level up planetary factions. We'll talk about that in just a second, but it does mean that stocking up on these tokens, especially in terms of planetary tokens, really won't be necessary. Now, when Forsaken does drop, it has been confirmed that you can still turn in these tokens and level up factions, but it is likely that when you do that, the rewards will be purely year 1 rewards because you're using a year 1 resource. Now, as for the non-planetary tokens like Crucible tokens and Vanguard tokens, well, Bungie has confirmed that, quote, Iron Banner, Vanguard, and Crucible tokens earned in Season 3 may be redeemed at the respective vendors in Season 4. So it seems like those tokens will still have a place with Forsaken, so you definitely want to stock up on those, and definitely just don't spend them until Forsaken drops. With a lot of these, the worst case scenario is that you still level up these vendors or whatever, you get, old rewards, old year 1 rewards, which sucks, but then you just dismantle those for stuff like weapon parts and so on, so it's not really that bad of a thing to do. Now, speaking of stocking up on things, there are absolutely some materials that you want to go out and farm for before Forsaken drops, and those are planetary materials. With Forsaken, like I said, the tokens for the planets are being retired, and what's replacing them is just the green planetary materials. So, for example, when Forsaken drops on the EDZ, the main resource that you're going to be rewarded for doing stuff and you're going to use to level up the EDZ faction is now going to be the green Dusklight shards. So, go out on these planets and just farm the crap out of those resources. Okay, so after that, another thing you absolutely want to do is get a good ghost shell. And what you're looking for specifically is the 10% experience gains, because the level cap is going all the way to level 50 with Forsaken. That is an absolutely huge jump, and gaining 10% more experience is going to be very useful. Now, specifically, you definitely want to get 10% more experience on Earth or Nessus. Why? Simply because those are the largest areas with the most public events going on. And those are going to allow you, when Forsaken hits, to go into the EDZ, for example, and just farm the crap out of public events, like keep activating heroic public events, and you're going to level up pretty fast. Oh, and also gain 10% more experience than normal. That's a great way to level up very quickly when Forsaken does launch. But the absolute pinnacle ghost shell that you are looking for is this one. This exotic ghost shell is rewarded for going flawless in trials. So I know a lot of you are going to be saying, oh my goodness, like that is such an annoying goal to achieve. But if you can go flawless before Forsaken arrives and you get this ghost shell, it will be very beneficial, and the reason being is because it has a perk where all experience gains are increased by 10%. Absolutely the, best perk you're looking for, period, when of course you're trying to level up to level 50. Now, speaking of bonus experience, make sure you have sufficient fire team medallions in order to pop those right when Forsaken launches, and again, level up and gain the advantages of bonus XP. Moving on from there, the last thing I'm going to recommend in this section is to change any of the guns that you really like to Void. But that doesn't include any of the weapons you see right here, or the Aikilos sniper or shotgun, because the weapons in that list are changing to kinetic when the new weapon system arrives, and the Aikilos, a sniper and shotgun, are changing to solar. Now, why do you want to change things to void? Well, because they synergize extremely well with the tractor cannon. You can absolutely melt a bunch of enemies with the tractor cannon. It's an extremely useful tactic. One person runs in, boops an enemy with a tractor cannon, and the tractor cannon makes it so that that enemy receives 50% more damage from all void sources. So if there's a shotgun you really like that isn't on this list, and you can make it void, then you can absolutely tank bosses. Now, the reason I say change them to void right now before Forsaken drops is that when Forsaken drops, because we're getting a new mod system, all of the elemental mods right now for current energy weapons and power weapons, those are going away. So if you have weapons that aren't on these lists that I didn't mention, you can change them to void, and when Forsaken drops, they'll stay void. Otherwise, if they're solar, you won't be able to change them back to void after Forsaken drops. So get your favorite weapons void so that you can do tractor cannon melts. And, you know, if you're worried about having too much void stuff, you shouldn't be. Things are going to be dropping randomly with Forsaken, and you'll probably get, you know, solar and arc stuff pretty darn easily. Alright, now moving on from there, we have the second half of the guide, which is things that you might want to do. These things are not 100% confirmed, but again, you may want to hedge your bets. And the first thing is to stock up on exotic engrams. Why? Because they may decrypt into the new Forsaken exotics. Now, this is unlikely. It's probably the case that when you get exotic engrams right now and you decrypt them when Forsaken comes out, they're still going to reward you with year 1 exotics. But there's a couple of things that may go on here. Again, there's a small chance, but definitely a chance that you may get new exotics. Obviously, that's the main reason you want to do this. But even if that's not the case, Bungie has stated that when you get exotics in Forsaken, they will always drop at or slightly above your power level, because people felt that getting exotics with kind of the new power level changes with Warmind really felt underwhelming to get like an underleveled exotic. So potentially these saved exotics may apply to that new system. They may slip through the cracks and you can use them to level up. Also, if there's any sort of new resources that come out, like exotic shards or something like that with Forsaken, used as a currency for exotics, which definitely might happen because people have so many legendary shards that Xur has kind of become a joke. Like, you just go to Xur and you can buy his entire inventory like 10 times if you're a player who plays a lot. If they introduce any sort of new exotic currency, then it's going to be really helpful to get these exotics when Forsaken drops. And then even though they're going to be old year 1 exotics, they may give you those new like exotic shards currency. This is again all hypothetical, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. There's like 3 different things going on here that you can benefit from for doing this. Now, something else that you may want to do is to save your Leviathan raid keys. So, if you go through the Leviathan, even if it's just on the normal difficulty, you will get those Leviathan chest keys. They go into the consumables slot of your inventory, and you can go to them, open chests, and you can get even exotic gear and also high power level gear. But if you have a full consumable section of your inventory, so you have absolutely no space in consumables, when you get those keys, they will go directly to your postmaster. And when they're in your postmaster, they will not delete on weekly reset. Usually, they will just delete from your inventory, but they're safe in your postmaster. And this means that even if you just play Leviathan like one time on normal with a full consumable inventory, you're going to get, what, like 4 different keys. They're going to go directly to your postmaster, and if those keys stay with Forsaken when it arrives, you can go back into Leviathan and get one of 2 potential benefits. Number 1, you can get high power level gear potentially, because you're getting raid chests and those are coded to give you pretty high gear. And also the exotics that come out of them, because you're getting brand new exotic engrams, those should apply to those exotic benefits I talked about before, where they will drop at or above your power level. So again, you can level up from that. But also, you have a pretty high chance of getting exotics from those chests, and because they've been awarded after Forsaken is dropped, you'll likely get exotics that could be the new Forsaken exotics. So storing keys in your Postmaster is basically like storing exotic engrams, but way more likely to actually be rewarding new exotics. But who knows, you could do this and then your Postmaster could be completely deleted when Forsaken comes out, like kind of as a reset. Or these keys may just disappear from your Postmaster. Bungie may have kind of fixed this, somewhat of a glitch, right? So this is another like hedge your bets thing. If you can do a raid, definitely worth trying. Because right now, opening those chests will give you pretty much nothing of value unless you're leveling up. But you have a potential huge benefit when Forsaken does come out. Alright guys, so that is it for this guide. I hope you guys enjoyed and found this informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.